In a world constantly pulling our attention outward, towards success, recognition, and validation, we often forget where true strength originates. It doesn't come from applause or achievements. It doesn't come from the status you hold or the things you own. True strength, the kind that is unshakable in chaos, begins within. Inner mastery precedes outer victory. Until you learn to conquer yourself, every external victory will be temporary and fragile. What does it mean to master oneself? It means becoming deeply aware of your thoughts, your emotions, your impulses, and your reactions. It's about knowing your triggers, your fears, and your patterns, and choosing your responses instead of being enslaved by them. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present, the person who is calm in a storm, who chooses silence over argument, who listens more than they speak. That is the person who has begun to master themselves. So many chase victory in the outer world, titles, followers, wealth, but they lose themselves in the process. They win on the surface and collapse inside. Why? Because their foundation was built on noise, ego, and insecurity. Without inner discipline, outer success becomes a mask you wear, not a life you live. You might impress the world, but you won't feel whole. But when you cultivate inner mastery, when you train your mind to be still, your emotions to be steady, your actions to be intentional, something shifts. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer seek validation, you walk in self-respect. You stop trying to control others and start commanding yourself. That's real power. And with that kind of power, external victories begin to align, not because you force them, but because you become ready for them. Think about it. A tree doesn't grow tall by stretching its branches. It grows by deepening its roots. The deeper the roots, the higher the tree can rise. The same is true for you. Want more peace? Go inward. Want more clarity? Go inward. Want to succeed in your outer world? First, master your inner one. This path isn't glamorous, it's quiet. It requires solitude, reflection, and uncomfortable truths. It demands that you sit with your own darkness and learn from it instead of running from it. But the reward? It's priceless. You become unshakable. You stop fearing failure because you no longer attach your worth to it. You stop craving attention because you've made peace with who you are. The world will always test you. People, situations, emotions. But once you've disciplined yourself internally, you stop being shaken by the external. You begin to lead with calm, speak with intention, and live with depth. So, if you truly want to win, win within. That is where the real battle is, and once that battle is won, everything else becomes easier, clearer, more aligned. Because when your inner world is in order, your outer world follows, always. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forces in the modern world. We often associate silence with passivity, submission, or weakness. Something to be filled or broken, but the truth is, silence is not the absence of power, it is power. It is not emptiness, it is presence. It is not weakness, it is a weapon, one that sharpens your awareness, strengthens your self-control, and protects your energy in ways that words never can. In a culture obsessed with talking, proving, defending, and reacting, choosing silence takes courage. It means stepping back when others step forward with noise. It means observing instead of arguing, listening instead of speaking, and walking away instead of confronting every challenge head on. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. It takes far more strength to remain silent when provoked than it does to lash out. Anyone can react, but only the strong can hold their tongue and see the bigger picture. Silence allows you to see what others miss. While others are distracted by their need to speak, you are watching, learning, absorbing. You begin to see the truth beneath the surface, the intentions behind words, the patterns in behavior, the gaps in logic. In silence, your perception sharpens. You move from reacting to responding, from noise to clarity, and in that clarity, you find your edge. There's another layer to this power. Silence protects your energy. Not every situation deserves your reaction. Not every argument is worth your peace. By choosing not to speak, you conserve strength. You deny drama the fuel it needs to grow. You refuse to let your emotions be controlled by outside forces. This kind of discipline creates an aura of mystery, strength, and confidence. You don't need to explain yourself. Your silence says, I know who I am and I don't need to prove it. Think about the most powerful people you've ever encountered. Not the loudest, but the ones who carry a calm presence. They speak only when necessary, and when they do, people listen. Why? Because their silence gave weight to their words. They've mastered the art of saying more with less. That is the mark of true inner authority. In silence, you also grow, you reflect, you realign, you refocus. While others drown in external chaos, your silence becomes a sanctuary. It becomes a space where you heal, build, plan, and evolve. Most breakthroughs don't happen in loud moments. They happen in quiet ones, in solitude, in stillness, in silence. So let the world talk. Let them misunderstand you, doubt you, even underestimate you. Stay silent, watch, learn, grow, and when the time is right, act. Not out of impulse, but out of clarity and purpose. Because silence isn't retreat. It's strategy, it's not giving up. It's rising quietly. And when you finally speak or move, it won't be to seek attention. It will be to deliver impact. That is the strength of silence. That is the power of restraint. Comparison is a silent poison that slowly drains the joy, clarity, and purpose from our lives. It begins subtly, scrolling through someone else's success, watching their progress, listening to their story, and before you even realize it, your mind starts to shift. You begin to measure your path against theirs, your timing against their timeline, your worth against their image. And just like that, you lose sight of your own direction. That is the danger of comparison. It doesn't just distract you, it kills your purpose. Purpose is something deeply personal. It's rooted in your values, your experiences, your vision. It grows in silence, in self-awareness, and in patience. But when you start comparing your life to someone else's, your purpose begins to blur. You start chasing things that were never meant for you. You begin to value achievements that have no meaning in your world simply because they seem to matter in someone else's. That's not growth, that's self-abandonment. The truth is, comparison creates a false narrative. It shows you someone's highlight reel, not their behind the scenes. You see the success, not the sleepless nights. You see the results, not the doubts they fought through. You see their wins, and suddenly your journey feels too slow, too small, too late. But you forget you're not even running the same race. Their purpose is not yours. Their pace is not yours. Their path will never be yours. So why are you using it to measure your progress? Comparison also breeds resentment towards others and towards yourself. You begin to see people not as individuals to learn from, but as competitors to beat. You lose gratitude for your own blessings. You stop appreciating your unique strengths and instead focus on what you lack. And nothing kills creativity, growth, and fulfillment faster than that mindset. A person focused on comparison cannot be focused on creation. Purpose needs room to breathe. It needs your attention, not your envy. When you let go of comparison, you reclaim your energy. You stop wasting time watching others and start using that time to build yourself. You start setting goals based on who you want to become, not on what others expect of you. That shift is powerful. It moves you from insecurity to authenticity, from competition to alignment. You are not here to live someone else's life. You are not meant to follow their script. You were given your own gifts, your own lessons, your own timing. Respect that, protect it, trust it. You don't have to shine like someone else to be successful. You just have to be real, consistent, and true to your purpose. So the next time comparison whispers in your mind, pause. Breathe, remind yourself their story is not your story, and that's the beauty of it. You don't have to match them. You only have to meet yourself again and again until you become who you were always meant to be. And that is more than enough.